Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage. I'm Leslie Watkins, and today I thought we would paint dragonflies. So on Monday I showed you how you could make a very easy note card box, and this one features a dragonfly. I've added a little peacock feather and some iridescent pearls, and I also added some side panels to the box. And this is designed to fit note cards perfectly, so you could put in about 6 to 8 note cards in here. And I'm going to continue working with this set, Dragonfly Garden, because I really like the Dandy Garden DSP or Designer Series paper that comes with it, and it also comes with a punch that punches out the dragonflies. So if you're someone who's not sure or confident with your drawing, you could certainly use these stamps to stamp out some images and then paint them in. But today I'm going to show you how to start from scratch. So I've got a little piece of paper here. This is 90-pound hot press watercolor paper. I've got a couple of brushes and a pencil, and I have my watercolors off to the side, red, yellow, and blue. I also have some white gouache because I may want to use that to put some highlights on the wings. And today I went into my paint collection and I took out some additional paints. So I've got some luminescent watercolors here. So I've got green, silver, this one's called Antique Silver, and I also have an additional color that I rarely use, but I just wanted to have it handy in case I wanted it today, and this is called Windsor Green. So this is a phthalo green. It's a very strong color. It's a dye color, and I only use about a pea-sized or less portion of it once every 2 or 3 years, so that should tell you something. But because the dragonfly I want to paint today has such brilliant color, I thought that that might come in handy. So let me zoom you in a little bit, and I'm gonna paint this dragonfly close to life size. These are called Green Darners, and this is a kind of a dragonfly that frequents my yard in the summertime, and is also a very widespread dragonfly. Their range goes from Canada, across America, down to Mexico, the Caribbean. And they migrate, so they're fairly common. I think everybody should recognize it. And I'm just going over to my computer here to pull up my reference photo. There he is. Okay, so one of the things I love to do during the summertime, many of you know I already have chickens, and I like to sit at the end of the day and let them out so they can run around and eat bugs and worms and leaves and seeds and everything else that they go after, which is just about everything. And in the evening, the green darners will begin to come out from my pond, and they're wonderful. They all kind of emerge at the same time, and they fly up and they hover over the pond, and then they begin to sort of range out in little circles and darts and dashes. And what they're doing is they're eating mosquitoes, which I love that they're helping. keep down the mosquito population. So I have a mat here. This measures 5 1/4 by 4, and then I have this little piece of paper that's torn to give me a nice reveal. This color is called Crumb Cake. It's I'll have all of these supplies listed below. After I do the video, you'll come back and you can get a complete list. So if you want to follow along, you can shop and get everything I'm using. But I wasn't sure yet what color mat I wanted to use with the painting, so I just grabbed something neutral for the time being until I finish the picture, and then I can hold it up to other colors and see what I like. So this is going to be a note card. And by the way, if you're interested in getting a listing of all the classes coming up in January, please go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes. And when you do that, you'll get on my mailing list, and I'll be able to send you a new listing each month of all of the classes and special deals and events and all sorts of goodies. There'll be tips and tricks, some examples of different techniques and tools you can use both in watercolor and for paper crafting. So it's a really nice thing to subscribe to, and I hope you will. But anyway, coming up in January will be the Watercolor Card of the Month Club, which is a subscription where you will learn how to paint something different every month. And in January, we're going to be doing hellebores, which are a beautiful winter blooming flower, at least here in my area, and a lot of other things. So so please do subscribe. Now, the Green Darners measure about 3 inches by 3 inches. So they're kind of squarish, and if we take our ruler out here, that's 3 inches. All right, so that's pretty much going to fill, if I do it life size, that's going to pretty well fill my area here. It's going to leave me a little bit of space down below, and I may decide to do a little calligraphy at the bottom with his Latin name on it, so it looks like an old scientific drawing. But for now, I just want to get him started. So I have a choice. I can either do just a very straight rendering with his body going up and down and his wings going across, but that would be kind of boring. So I'm going to give it a little bit of an angle and a curl to make it a little more interesting. Their heads are huge, and that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, their eyes are absolutely enormous. So each one of their eyes has something like, I think it's 23,000 lenses. So their ability to see is exceptional. And then they also have this kind of a sideways opening mandible that allows them to grasp their prey. And then they have their insects, so of course they've got 6 legs. And what's really interesting about the Green Darner, well, all dragonflies, not just the Green Darner, is that they use their front pair of legs to sort of round up all the critters that they're capturing, whether it's mosquitoes or something in the water. And oh, excuse me. Let me just take that off the hook. Sorry everybody, these are robocalls, and I cannot get rid of them. If anybody has any tips on getting rid of robocalls, I've tried just about everything. They're so annoying. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh, that they're one of the most notable features about the dragonflies is their ability to hover the way a helicopter does. And they have 4 wings. I'm going to straighten his tail out a little bit. Let me get my kneaded eraser here. There we go, that's better. And what I love about this particular kind of dragonfly, the Green Darner, and I'm sure you all know this, is that they have that beautiful blue and green iridescent tail. And I forget how it goes. The blue ones are males and the green ones are females, or the opposite. Something like that. Alright, so there's our dragonfly's body. I'm going to zoom you in so you can see that a little bit better. And I'm going to have these front legs coming forward with their little claspers, just like that. And the mandibles. All right, and then you have this section. So it helps to study a little bit of your insect anatomy so that you can be sure that you get all of these different sections of the body represented. Head, thorax, and abdomen are the main 3. And then just, get yourself some good reference. Of course, if you can get a specimen, dead or alive, that you can sketch from, that's the best reference yet. And then at the very tip of the tail, it splits into 2, something like that. And then there are segments. So I'm just going to count here. So 1, 2. Okay, so it looks like they look something like this. So I have to hit the books to figure out how many there are, but I'm counting about 8. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there is a very distinctive central line that goes up and down, something like that. All right, and then the second pair of legs comes out something like that. Okay, so each of these have 3 parts as well. All right, and then finally, he's got another pair of legs, he or she, that come down something like this. So that's our dragonfly's body. Now, of course, we want to add those gorgeous wings. All right, so the wings come from this section right here. All right, and let's see how we want to design these wings so that they fit on our page nicely. So I'm thinking something like that. And this one will have to be a little bit foreshortened so that it fits. All right, so that's our overall design. So there's a couple of distinguishing features that you want to make sure that you get on your wings. They have these little sections at the top, on the top side towards the tip of the wings on both sets. I just want to make sure I got this shape better. It's overlapping here. All right. Well, I think that's enough information to get started. Let me fix this one a little bit. Here we go. I'm just cleaning that up a little. All right, so I'm happy with that. Now, of course, if you were doing a more careful, a more serious painting, you would take much longer to be sure that everything was drawn correctly. This is just a quick sketch, just a little study, just so I can show you how to get started. I gotta fix the shape of this wing here, the way it comes down. It comes down like that. There we go. Alrighty. So the other thing I'm thinking about is the way the light is going to fall on these wings, because I want there to be plenty of sparkle. So I think what I'm going to do is just to put a light wash and I'm mixing up. I'm just going to keep things very neutral and pale to begin with. So I'm making a kind of a gray beige color. A little on the warm side. You could do just the same thing with your stamped image if you're using one of the stamps for your dragonfly. And if you like painting with inks, you could approach this just the same way. And I'm just getting a paper towel handy in case I need it. So that's just a light wash that I've placed on the wings so I can add a little highlight later and it will show up. And now I'm just going to take some of my blue-green mixture from my palette. And I know you can't see my mixing over here, but when we do the longer watercolor painting classes, you can see everything that I'm doing. And I'll give you a complete list of all my colors, my equipment, all my recommendations, and you'll be able to see exactly how I mix all of these mixtures. And there's much more information about shading and value and perspective and all the other elements that go into a good painting. Okay, so there's the beginning of our dragonfly. I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. This is a size 4, so it's not too small, but it's small enough for me to be able to get all of these details that I'm looking for. So I'm taking a slightly darker bluish tone, and I'm just going to begin to draw some of the features . There we go. And I'm going to take a brighter blue and I'm going to add a tiny bit of yellow just to warm it up a little bit. There's another color called phthalo blue, and phthalo is short for phthalimine. It's a chemical dye color. It's very strong, and that might actually be a good color to try for this dragonfly's body. I don't happen to have that color out at the moment, but I will do a a bluish tone that comes close to it. I just want to get these segments. There we go. And I'm just getting a little bit darker as I go along. I want to make sure I get this mandibles on there. Now both dragonflies and butterflies, as well as other insects, have very specific veins in their wings. And I'm not going to try to capture every single one, but there are some dominant ones. So for instance, on the top edge, or the front edge of their front wing, they have a very rigid section that acts as a support to the structure of the wings, and that kind of stands out. And the same thing on the hind wing. So I'm just going to give a little indication of that. And then I'm just going to put a couple of lines to indicate the direction of some of these veins without putting in too much detail. Now, of course, if you were interested in scientific illustration, you would want to do a full and careful study of all these things. But I'm just using this as a design element, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, just enough so that anybody who looks at the picture will know that, oh yes, that's a dragonfly, and maybe even recognize it as a green darner. When I was a kid, we called them darning needles. Now I want to pick up, let me see if I can pick up some of the blue in some of these places. Okay, now I'm just going to add in some of the dark markings. So for this, I'm going to mix up a much stronger color. So I'm using a deeper, richer blue with a little bit of red. And let's see how that does. They've got that kind of Darth Vader look about them. So I wonder where my dragonflies are now. I wonder if they're in the Caribbean. So the life cycle of the dragonfly is that they begin as aquatic creatures, so their eggs are laid in water, and then their earlier nymph stages, they go through several different stages, and they molt a lot of times because they're such large creatures. So I think it's something like 16 different molts before they reach full size. And they stay in the water, where they're also very very good predators, and they eat mosquito larvae under the water as well as other insects and even tiny fish. But anyway, they're underwater for 3 years before they emerge as flying dragonflies, and at that point they only live for a matter of months. So they've got to use that short time that they have to travel to their destinations, where then they mate and they start the process all over again. It's incredible to think that these creatures can navigate across continents and against all odds and make it to their destinations. In Asia, the dragonfly symbolizes the transient life. So, you know, the idea of time passing quickly. So every time I see my dragonflies, I'm always reminded to think about what's important. You know, what's important to me, what's important to get done, because time is fleeting. In the West, in Europe and America, I think many people think of them as a symbol of inspiration. I think of butterflies as more of the symbol for inspiration, but to each their own. All right. I'm going to get these eyes a little bit darker. Okay, so that's the basis. Now let's have some fun. So I'm going to mix up some of my white gouache. And I need a little more water on there. And what I'm doing is I'm mixing up a fairly opaque, thick mixture. And I'm just going to pick out some of these sections on the dragonfly wings that are picking up light. Sometimes if you use your white gouache straight from the tube, it's easier to use. I have an area of dried gouache on my palette here, so it takes a minute for me to get it nice and creamy. We're getting there. Just a little sparkle. There are a lot of different dragonflies in my area. There's at least 20 or more, and each one of them is very interesting. Dragonflies and damselflies. There we go, and that's starting to get a good opaque quality to it. Okay, so that's pretty good. And now I'm going to get my iridescent paint out. It's called Interference Green, luminescent watercolor. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. It's very pale. And I'm just going to wash this across the surface of the wings. I don't even know if the camera will pick this up, but it's very shiny. And just see what happens here. You can see a little bit. And it just has a tiny bit of a greenish tinge to it. Just enough. And I'm just glazing that over the surface. So, I don't know, so you can see, I think you can see a little bit of that quality of the paint on there. Okay, and I can even, I'm going to add a little bit more to his tail while I'm at it. Okay, I think you can capture a little bit of that quality. Of course, from my viewpoint, it's pretty effective, but I think you can catch the idea of that. All right, so then all that needs to be done is to mount the dragonfly on the mat, and see if I have a note card here ready to go, and I do. Zoom you out a little bit. So I'm just going to give this a quick burnish with my bone folder. There we go. And what I would do is just glue my mat down to the card base. When you join the watercolor card club, you get all of these papers in your card kit. The only thing you need to have is glue, and I recommend the archival glue so that you don't have any problem with yellowing or acid getting into your artwork. And I'm not going to adhere this down just yet because I think I want to add a little bit of calligraphy down across the bottom. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Just a beautiful, subtle, shiny Green Darner, and I'm getting out a envelope now. Just need one. And there's our dragonfly. And on Saturday, for Paper Crafting Saturday, I'm going to show you a very special reinforced note card box that that uses many of the products from this wonderful Dragonfly Garden suite. So I hope you'll join me then. Thank you so much. I hope that you got some ideas about painting some of the bugs and the birds and the critters that you might find in your backyard. And stay well, stay happy, and stay creative, and I'll see you next time.